All right, guys, Cody here. I mentioned in my last couple posts that I'd be doing some video blogs about being a DS agent, becoming a DS agent, security contracting, working the foreign service, a number of different items. You ask a question, I'll do my best to either answer it or get to someone that knows the answer. Um, this is the first one. I'm going to try to keep most of them short. This one will be a little longer. Ideally, I can keep them to under 5 minutes, so you can just kind of pop it on Instagram or something and look at it. I will also upload these to YouTube if I can figure out how to do it, and then you can kind of view the whole thing there. uh, One thing I wanted to, or one of the reasons I wanted to do it is I've talked to about 30 or so. I talked to one a day, matter of fact, aspiring DS agents, whether it be from messages online, to turn into emails, to turn into phone calls, and I've even built some friendships since then, since I released a book back in 2018. A couple of people are in the process of becoming DS agents, and some have even become DS agents since it was like a year and a half ago since I released a book. What I've learned from all of those guys, or from a lot of them, is that there's a lot of bad information out there, or there's no information out there. When I came on in 2008, they had these police blogs, these forums. I don't know if they exist still. I did a basic search a couple of days ago, and I saw that the police forums that I used to look at were didn't look like they were going on anymore. They just, I guess, stopped. And I keep getting from people that there just isn't a resource out there to answer some of their questions. So this will kind of kill a couple birds with one stone. One, I'll answer your questions in a video blog, and two, what I'd like to do is tag people when I post this, and then maybe you'll start seeing other people that are interested. And I know if you begin to kind of get together and talk about things that you may get some intel, some good intel from someone. This guy may know a DS agent, this, that, and the other, and you can kind of build a little bit of camaraderie or a group. And you never know, you may end up with the same agent in BSAC class. When I looked at those, BSAC is the Basic Special Agent course. I looked at those blogs, like I said. I didn't comment on them, but there were guys in my class that did comment on them. It just so happened that they like freaking knew each other. They had the same handle or something. But anyway, so maybe you can kind of build a community around that. I don't know. But my point is to kind of get some information out there. Obviously, I have a book. I'm promoting the book. I have an audio book coming out. I'm really pumped about that. It's professionally done. It should come out mid-April. I read it, so not all the way professionally done because I'm not a professional at doing that. But the reviews I've had so far from the people that are editing it and those that they had a chance to listen to it are really good reviews. So and you don't have to worry about the grammar or editing issues as much as I did with the book when I first put it out on a small budget. Another reason I'm doing it is, I've been fortunate. I have, I think, 71, 72 reviews online. 90% or so or 5-star reviews. I don't think I can get any more 5-star reviews that would help me get above 90% because I have a few 4-star reviews, and I hope it stays at that. People I've asked for reviews, and people have on Instagram, people I don't know have come out and given reviews. And that's great. Of course, at the beginning, I had a couple, family and friends post about what they thought about it, and it's just kind of taken off from there. So, we're looking pretty good. I'm going to look to the side here a little bit and look. I have some notes and things that I want to touch on as we go through. I tend to talk a lot. I tend to talk fast. If something doesn't make sense, I'm Cajun, right? Just hit me up in the messages, whether it be on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, and I'll go to respond. That said, I also don't know everything. All right, I know what I know. I think I've had a pretty good career. I did a little over 9 years. I was at 5 different assignments in 9 years. So I was in Houston. I was in Baghdad, which is not a traditional post. I did high threat protection there. I was in Ho Chi Minh City, which is a traditional post. And then I went back to northern Iraq, which is Erbil, non-traditional, but had some traditional elements. and then to a resident agent office, which is a subset or a sub office of a field office. I've also did some long term, or I don't know if 90 days considered long term, but I did a few long term TUIs to different locations at traditional posts. So I have I think a good background to speak on some of this. But if I don't know the answer, I have a network of friends that could or that will know the answer, and or they can just come in and comment and say, yeah, that's right, no, that's wrong, I agree, I disagree, whatever. It's an open forum. Just be respectful, and we'll be good to go. So I think the best way to start this one, and again, I don't want to keep them too long, I think the best way to start this one is to talk about what DS is not. Because I have a lot of people that I've talked to, whether it be people aspiring to be DS agents or just when I come across some people and I hear the range from DS, they don't do much, they're State Department, they're diplomats and don't do much, to these guys are freaking kicking in doors and all that. And it's somewhere in between, right? It's nowhere near we don't do much, we do a lot, but it's somewhere in between, just doing basic security and protection to kicking in doors or whatever. It's right in the middle. So number one is if you're looking to kick in doors and be in this super high speed unit, listen, this is not it. There's places you can go to. You might do that. HRT with FBI, probably some of those guys. Go be a freaking Navy SEAL if you could make it. But DS is not that. Now, if you read my book, there's a chapter where we had an investigation and we're doing trying to arrest 5 people simultaneously around like a 4-block radius. And so we did knock on the doors. We went in their home. We kicked in, quote unquote, the doors, went in their homes and snatched them up. And it's because it was connected to a ring of people. So you get a little bit of that, but you're not going to be doing anything super high speed. It's just not that. And we're not investigative heavy. If you're looking to do investigations like, FBI and these long-term 2, 3, 4-year investigations or even longer, maybe ICE investigations. I know they call themselves HSI now. They have longer-term investigations. You're generally not going to get that with DS. Now, we do have a unit that's a headquarters unit. It's called CFI, Criminal Fraud Investigations. They have resources, assets. They have agents that are dedicated to that. I think they go to an additional investigative course, like an advanced investigators course to do that. And so there's an element to it. With that said, you can really only stay in a position in DS for 2 years. Some assignments are 1 year, some assignments, depending on your rank, maybe 3 years. If you're lucky and you have kids in school and you're a senior RSO, regional security officer, you might get 4 years. At that point, you get a little bit of negotiation room, but generally you don't. So if you are in CFI, in that investigation unit, you get 2 years out of it. So point being, if you're looking to do hardcore, heavy investigations, probably not the organization for you. If you're looking to kick in doors and do some super high speed shit, probably not the deal for you. Now, we do have a unit called MSD. MSD gets some great training. I have buddies that are MSD, and maybe they'll comment, or we'll take a question someday about MSD and they can comment, or at least give me a little more intel, because I didn't do it. I did do an internship with them after the Marine Corps and before I got my degree, and got a little insight there. And of course, I know them and DS agents, buddies that were. And, they do some pretty cool stuff. I feel like their hands are tied a lot. I know they had a vetting issue initially, and they were just letting everybody pass. And that's, to me, doesn't make you an elite unit. That makes you a shit unit. So, and I think, and let me just qualify that with the guys I know are some squared away freaking dudes. And my understanding is it's gotten a ton better, but, MSD is one of them. And then you get the high threat protection, right? So that's kind of the second high speed thing we do, where you're in Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan. You work with triple canopy contractors. There may be some other contracts. I think DynCorp may have one of the mobile protection contracts. And you get to work alongside them. There's one special agent with the team, and you run protective ops throughout Baghdad or Kabul or you name it. And I have that in the book, in my book as well. It's chapter 3 and 4. I talk about that a good bit, and that was one of my favorite things to do in DS. But so that would be your two kind of, if you were thinking high speed, kind of your two high speed ish style things. To expand a little bit on that, if you don't know the U.S. or the State Department or the DS mission, it's to provide an environment for the safe conduct of diplomacy. And if you're going to do an interview, you should be able to articulate that probably a little better than I just did. But we have three main elements that we do. There's obviously the investigations that we briefly talked about. Passport fraud and visa fraud investigations. Sometimes they link to something else, and you get involved in those at your field offices, and you make arrests, and there's generally not a high crime or a high price to pay for these types of investigations. Or these type of charges, they'll get 6 months if there's some additional crimes. A lot of times, the U.S. Attorney's Office will require additional crimes for them to prosecute the case, or a ring. They may have you do that. So that's your investigations element. We do a protection element. Obviously, there's we protect foreign dignitaries at cabinet level, and then some randoms, like we protect Dalai Lama, which I think is pretty cool. We protect some former presidents of foreign countries, and then we protect defense ministers, foreign ministers, anyone that reaches that cabinet level. But it's not just every country. They have to meet a threshold. We have a whole unit in DS that oversees this and determines which countries and which individuals or positions from that country deserve protection. The third element is the security management, where you're overseas, you're at a U.S. embassy or consulate or mission or interest. There's different levels, and you manage security programs. And to be quite honest, as I've moved over to the corporate side of security, that's where you get the biggest bang for your buck for your afterlife. If you leave DS after a few years or 10 years, or even after you leave DS after 20 years, knowing how to manage a security program is vital. And so in those, a lot of it's more mundane stuff. You're doing a lot of leadership stuff, a lot of management. So you'll manage a guard force, you'll manage surveillance detection teams, you'll manage it, maybe background investigations, whether you do them or you manage someone that does it. Your embassy might have a local protection detail for your ambassador. You may be involved in that, or you may just manage it. And that's kind of what you're doing. But you really get adept at, managing security programs, understanding physical security, technical security, although we have people that do the technical security, but you kind of oversee it, and those elements of security. So that's your three components. I will add the third component. I briefly talked about it, but it's the high threat protection. Ever since the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, we've been involved in high threat protection, and so it's not the same as regular protection, but it is clear as mud, right? That's but you do that in some of these high threat posts. So, and with these high threat posts, what you'll do is you'll get out there, and generally you only have one job, whereas a traditional assistant regional security officer or special agent, that's what they call us overseas, is an ARSO for the mid-level, ground level guys. You'll at a traditional post, you'll manage the different programs that I talked about. At a high threat post, you may be only in investigations or only in protection. And so just keep that in mind. I realize I'm jumping around a lot. I'm talking fast. This is my first video, so I'll figure this out. But take what you will from this. If there's additional questions, then of course I'll come back on a different video and get into more detail. So I'm almost at 15 minutes now. If you can't find this on IG, or if the whole thing's, it's on YouTube. Go check it out. So let me get to a couple of the questions that I have, and this will probably take me to much longer video, another 15 minutes. But I'm going to try and start. I'm going to try and start with the question, like if you were trying to become a DS agent, the first step. So the one question that I have is about recruiting, and it's a guy that hit me up a couple of days ago. And I'm paraphrasing, but why isn't there a big recruiting push for DS like other agencies? How does one get in touch with recruiting, and do I just email them? So I've had experience applying for other agencies like DEA, for example. They have recruiters at every office, and they're specifically there for recruiting. DS doesn't have that. Why we don't have that, why we haven't done that, I can't answer that. I don't know. I do know that my former boss in Ho Chi Minh City was heading up kind of a new-ish recruiting office and making some changes. So, and I believe I had a conversation with her once, and if I recall correctly, there's going to be agents at each office that will be like the liaison, and they'll help her or the other agents in recruiting go, with recruiting events in that state or that area of operation. So we just don't have the people. You can't just email someone. It just doesn't work that way. I don't know why, but you can't. If you did get in touch with someone, what they would say, because we all know, all the DS agents know, and I'm not going to release the name, this one lady that does it, she's in HR, and she's so overwhelmed, but she's going to tell you, just wait for the vacancy announcement. And so the best thing you can do, or what I think you can do, is go to the DS, it used to be State Department or Diplomatic Security /management, but just Google Diplomatic Security Service and go to the actual State Department website and put in your email for notifications, for job notifications. And because when the vacancy announcement comes out, you'll get to apply. You'll get to know about it, and then you'll apply. And usually these announcements aren't very long. I don't know if it's ever been longer than a week in my whole time, with DS and prior to DS as a Marine security guard and planning to get in DS. If you combine all that, it's been nearly 20 years. And, I don't know. I don't recall a time where it's been longer than a week. So, go set yourself up on that website to get their emails about, hey, we're opening up in a week. And that'll help you. So to get in touch with recruiting, again, it's not going to happen. Do you just email someone? It doesn't work that way. But if you have questions about the process, once you do apply, or you're about to apply, I'll be happy to answer any questions on that. I did that in a few minutes. That's pretty good. So the other one I had is about what's the best path to becoming a DS agent? What kind of person does DS look for? And skill set, quality of person. This is hard to say. I'm a little biased. I'm a military guy, and so are many of my buddies that are squared away. Many are former cops, but I know a ton of guys that did neither, and that are guys and girls that did neither, and they're friggin' great. The only thing DS requires is that you have a bachelor's degree, all right, that you can get a top secret clearance, which friggin' anybody can get. It's not that hard to get a top secret clearance. So you got to have that bachelor's degree. If you have some type of work experience, I've seen them hire people with zero experience straight out of college. And we don't like it. A lot of the guys with experience don't like it. I've seen them hire Navy SEALs at the top of the age bracket, and then they're hiring 22-year-old college students. So it's really random. I hope they got better. It sounds like I have buddies that have sat on these panels, and it sounds like it's gotten better. But that's just something to keep in mind. So if you have some work background in any freaking field, you have that bachelor's degree, you're eligible, and you could pass. Typically what we talk about, or what I've heard through my 9 years in DS before and after, is that we hire 1/3 military, former military, another third law enforcement, whether that be local, state, or federal, and another third from just about any other career field. And so, I know accountants, I know, business marketing folks that were there. There's a guy that was a friggin' English teacher, and sometimes they're super squared away, sometimes they're not, and that goes for the military folks too. Doesn't mean they're going to be squared away. I have plenty of those, right? So the best path is really, it's really up to you. I like the military and law enforcement path. I think those are very helpful. I feel like those of us that have, whether it be conducted investigations, shot a gun, carried a gun, had to go through some type of academy before, take it a lot easier than those that haven't. So if you're looking if you don't have a law enforcement background or a military background, I think that is advantageous. I'm not telling you to sign up for the military or sign up for the reserves, but I feel like those are the skill sets that people that take it a little easier. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to get selected, because the selection board is subjective. It's humans that look at you and listen to you articulate, a number of different things, and they say, all right, this guy's good enough to pass, or this guy's not, so it's hard to say, but I think law enforcement military background is a great path, and having 100%, you have to have that. Turn that off. You have to have that bachelor's degree. What kind of person does DS look for? So remember, when you go overseas with DS, you're a diplomat. You're a full-fledged freaking diplomat. You'll attend diplomatic parties. You'll do everything else that people in the economic section, the political section, the science and technology section that they do. And so I think when they meet people, they're looking for someone that's well-rounded, that can articulate themselves well without dropping an F-bomb, kind of like I do now. I don't know how I got through. They just want someone with interpersonal skills, and a well-rounded knowledge, right? So the questions I was asked in my panel is out of this world. It's the things that I would never have thought of about authors and literature and, different scenarios. It was crazy, but that's what they're looking for. So having an interpersonal skill set is valuable. Having some skills related to the job is valuable. Having an additional language skill set is valuable. They won't look at it. They won't look at it and just say, this guy has language skills, freaking Turkish language skills, let's take them. It doesn't work that way, but it helps. And I believe once you get on, you might get a little bump in pay. Those are kind of what you're looking for: skill set, language, law enforcement, military, anything, and a quality of person, a good person that can be put in a diplomatic environment, and articulate themselves and be a reasonable person, and responsible when it comes to drinking and not getting hammered and make a fool of yourself. So anyway, I pushed this way long. So those of you that are really interested, you probably made it to the end. Most of you, I imagine, did not. However, I will post this on Instagram. I'm going to try to post this on Facebook as well. And then I will definitely get this up on YouTube, on a YouTube channel. Just search Agents Unknown, Diplomatic Security Service, my name. It should pop up. If you haven't read the book, there's a lot of good information in the book. It's personal stories about my life as a special agent in the 9 years that I was in. And if you're not interested in reading, you don't have time, then sit tight. Within the next month or so is going to be an audio book. I think that's going to be even better than the book. And you can hear me tell the stories that way. So thanks for your time. I'll hit you guys up. All the rest of these should be less than 10 minutes, hopefully 5 minutes coming down the line. And, we'll be doing this for the next several months, and maybe it'll go further. All right. Thanks, y'all. Out.